So there's a few questions on citta, particularly relationship to the sense realm. Person doesn't quite understand why the Buddha recommends sense restraint. What harm does sense desire to the citta? For example, everything stated in the 7th precept. This is general decoration, beautification, adornments. Well, it just sends the citta on the wrong path, that's all. We say the word desire. Desire, that's a certain motivation, it's a certain movement. There's desire. And so when the desire moves towards the senses, what's it moving towards? Sights, sounds? No, I don't think so. I think it's moving towards the sense of the idea, or the sense, or the feeling. We like that this will provide one with happiness, and probably for a moment it does. Otherwise we wouldn't do it. The drawback is that, for a start, sense objects are kind of outside of one's intimate domain. You've got to see something out there. So that definitely limits, because we don't have control over the sensory domain. There's some degree of it, but not much. You can't really dictate what you're going to see or hear. And you'll probably see and hear unpleasant things as well as pleasant things. So if the citta's looking out, for a start, the chance of finding agreeable feeling through sense contact is limited. Such feeling as does arise is rather brief, because having seen something and derived some pleasure, then what next? So it's a kind of short term, like a firework that spurts and then goes off. And sometimes it's just not available. For example, if one is sick, it's an extreme example, but any place we're at, we can't right now, perhaps we can't hear pleasant sounds, unless you like the sound of traffic. So it's a limitation. And so it's always going out, you see. Now, if the desire is turning the other way to where is there happiness within, well, there's a possibility that could stay with you, right? Because it's not out there, it's in here, you could say. It's in our mind or in our heart. So that means it's always possibly available. Now, you might not find much happiness in there. Sounds like it. That's naturally, that's the difficulty. So the sense is to use one's practice to generate pleasant, agreeable conditions internally, such as gratitude or compassion or calming, that may start out feeling fairly minimal compared to more powerful sense input, but over the long run they build up. They build up and they're portable. You can take them everywhere. Even when you're sick, you can still reflect upon gratitude and generosity and loving kindness. So it doesn't stop you experiencing those states. Now, the person has drawn a little map here, or diagram. You can't see it, but actually what it does is it places citta in the center, and these nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness, ear consciousness, around it, kind of shooting into it. You've got nose shooting, putting stuff into the citta, right? Body, So they're saying, is this the correct? Not quite. There's actually, citta only has 2 inputs, 2 channels. One of them is mind, mano vijnana. So the citta doesn't actually receive sight or sound, it receives perceptions of sight. That's a mental, it's not a thought. It means there's a quality called attention, you see, that shapes up and labels things. For example, when we're very small, only 6 months old or so, we really don't know much about the world at all. We have a citta, so you may pick up something that's poisonous and drink it because you don't understand, because you can't read. So your mano hasn't been able to give you a meaning. Or you can, put your fingers into something that burns without really knowing, because you don't know what a flame is when you're very small. But over a while you build up this library of that's painful, that's dangerous, that's electricity, don't use water with electricity, it's very dangerous. So you build up these perceptions, and of course you see people, mother, father, smile, that's positive, frown, that's no bad news. So you build up this library to the point in which you imagine that you actually see things as they are, because it's the mind is so effective and so active, but you don't. You see what your mind brings to your attention and what it reminds you of. What it reminds you of. So you see shapes, oh, that's a man. Or that's my mother. That's my cousin. That does not arrive from the sight. That arises from the mental label. Then you might look at something and think, that's food. Or you might look at, no, that's waste food. That's rubbish. All you see actually is colours. But your mind looks at it, wait a minute, and it also, that's what the eye says. What does the nose say? That's bad, that's rubbish, throw it away. Or it could look at it and say, that's a meal. Or you could look at something and say, it looks like noodles and tofu. Hey, it's plastic. Because your eye doesn't see things, it sees something, but your mind tells you what it sees. And non-verbally. Sometimes verbally, but just the immediate impression reminds me of. And that reminding me of is called sanya, perception. And that triggers a particular feeling, vedana, pleasant, and that gives rise to what's called a response or sankhara. So the citta really receives the mind's perceptions of experience. And the other thing it receives is bodily energy. So the body jumps and the citta feels, what's that? Reactions. And if the body energy goes steady and calm, the citta goes steady and calm. So these are good things to know, because that's why I'm teaching this embodied practice, because it's an alternative channel for citta to turn towards, other than just mental perceptions, which are extremely unreliable, and they're often biased. There's perceptual bias. What we find attractive or disgusting is quite biased. And it's an interpretation. When we go to body energy, that's the direct thing, where the body feels calm. The citta tunes into that, it feels calm. Right? And so they have this synergy, operate together. So it also means if we bring a calming, citta is also has intentions. So if we bring up a calming intention or a joyful intention or something that brightens the mind, that also goes into the body, and the body becomes comfortable, and then the citta picks that up and calms down. So that's the interplay between citta, mind, and body. Now, of course, we can also derive skillful perceptions. What are skillful perceptions? Perceptions of impermanence. This is going to change. What does that do to the citta? It goes, okay, just don't hang on to that. That's a skillful perception. Perceptions of seeing the danger in sense desire. So there's that kind of fiery, recognize that? Uh-oh, you followed this 1,000 times. Where did it take you? Uh-oh, perception, dangerous. Sweet, but dangerous. Let's just step back. Perception of seeing the unattractive. If we find ourselves obsessed with attraction, sense desire, attraction, you start to introduce a perception of the unattractive. Obviously, there's the unattractive nature of food. It looks good on a plate. You put it in your mouth, you chew it for 10 seconds, it doesn't look good anymore. You get it down into your belly, you don't even know about it. But that's the only place where it does you any good. When it gets in here, it doesn't do you any good on the plate. It only starts to work in here. That's when it's actually unattractive. And yet we're attracted to something that's useless. We're not attracted to something that's useful. You know, because you don't need to be attracted to it. Attraction says about to. About to. It doesn't say you've got it. It says about to get it. Right? Once you've got it, you're not attracted to it anymore because you've got it. So attraction, you recognize that attraction is it's a decoy. So you recognize that. Then you can relax it because it's a certain impulse energy, like electricity, runs into the mind. Hey, so just body, feet on the ground, take a breath, energy current goes down. So you recognize the unattractive. That's called a skillful perception. But then there's the perception of Buddha, perceptions of mutuality, other beings like me, gives rise to the quality of compassion and loving kindness. These are skillful perceptions that you introduce. Particularly when we get obsessed with unskillful ones, you jam it with them. Wait a minute. So, I wish to know how to overcome the sound distractions. Focus better on my breathing. I keep getting distracted from sounds around me, people moving, doors opening, birds doing something. And this thing, obviously, I'd imagine. Well, you have to work at it. So you need to find something that gives you an alternative input. So this is why we use the body, and sometimes breathing is just too subtle for you. It's not strong enough yet. So then you might do walking. You feel the movement of the body, something quite physical and coarse, relatively coarse, the movement of the body. Then you can experience the body moving, flowing, supple. So remember, the body's not stiff. You want to not like stiff. It's actually fluid. As we walk, there's a fluidity to it. So then we've got something a little more tangible to attend to, and not just the physical sensations, but also when the body is walking, the energy of the body is very obvious. there it is. You focus on that sense of, just like you're swimming, you know, focus on that sense of the flow from the leg to the chest, the shoulders, and so forth. You keep that going. It gives you something to center on. And then the rest of it is working with aversion. So we can't stop sound. This is something I've just mentioned. You don't have much say over the sense doors, but you can work with aversion. And that's enormously productive and intimate, because that's something you can. You know, the sound is not trying to do you any harm. It has no intention to it. Yeah. So the sense of, there's the sound, and there's this sense of, stop it, distracting me. And if you do that for a while, then you're getting really irritated and restless. So, okay, the sound's not going to go away. How can the restlessness and irritation go away? Well, I just say, oh, hello, sound. Come on in, I welcome you. Come on, let's hear you. Let's hear you move through me. And then it's just a phenomenon. So you create a kind of an open space, an open state. Just hold the citta very steady. I have a lot of practice with this throughout my monastic life, because mostly the monasteries I've been living at were all in the process of being built. They all started out very humble and broken down and derelict. So for 20 years it was living on a building site. So this was normal, and sometimes worse than that, more than that. Because my kuti was right next to the main building site. It was like about 8 meters away. And so there's people grinding saws to saw stone, and hammering, dang, 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 dang. See all these voices in your mind, oh, shut up, I'm trying to get some meditation, I came here for Nibbana, not to listen to bills. You know, this kind of thing goes on. It's not doing any good at all. So just the sound, just, beginning to relax the heart. So the heart tries to defend itself from what it dislikes. So this is irritation. First it closes to try to get away from what it dislikes. And it fights, sends out little fight, pushing things. So it's like this. All it can do is like that. So if you want to stop that, you've got to stop this. So you just make the heart, don't like this. Okay. This is better than that. Because this allows the sound to pass through. This is always fighting with it. Yeah. So it's a bit of a challenge, but eventually you get to the point when that's all you can do. I guess it's rather like when if you take a cold water dip. You don't think, oh no, it's cold. And I go in there. Oh, your feet toe in. Oh, it's cold. Cold. I want to go in there and cold and just jump. And then the body kind of, oh, it's okay. You get over it. So it's actually less difficult than taking a cold water bath. It's just gently opening. And what is sound? Just nothing really. So the Buddha says, light arose, vision arose. What is the light and what is the vision? Chakkung udapadi, jnanam udapadi, vidya udapadi. This doesn't mean light like visual light, it means a light of wisdom, clarity arose. And this is the clarity of knowing, samajnana. And so the Buddha then realizes the end of becoming and the Four Noble Truths. So this is the realization experience. It's different from looking for something. It's like something comes to you. Oh, wow. That's realization. So we have to clear away the obstacles that prevent the clarity. The clarity is vidya. The main obstacle is avidya, ignorance. So it says ignorance is banished, clarity arose. So avidya finished, vidya arose. So a sense of clear seeing things as they are. That's what he's referring to. And this is, I said, I was talking about samajnana, knowledge, and the knowledge and vision of release. The fetters aren't here. There's no clinging, there's no attachment. One realizes that, or the Buddha does. If we trust in awareness, see it as timeless and eternal, would this lead to attachment to citta? Would this become another atta, or soul? Well, certainly when we use these words, that's part of the problem. You see, so pure citta is just awareness. So we experience it. Well, experiencing, seeing things with full awareness, but you don't really see awareness. Awareness is there, just like I don't see. I'm looking at you, I see you, but I don't see seeing. But I am seeing. Do you understand? If I wasn't seeing, I wouldn't see you. But what I see is you. I don't see something called seeing. Where's the seeing gone? It's everywhere. Well, why can't I see it then? Because it's not an object, you see. Now, as soon as once one gets this as an idea, you think, oh, pure awareness, citta, then the idea is something one can attach to, because that is something that we can hold in our mind. But pure awareness you can't hold in your mind. So, okay, mystified. But can you give you a little story? So this master has, what a sieve is? Like you put tea in a sieve or tea strainer, and then you pour water through it. So he says to the disciple, could you fill this sieve with water, please? Well, no, I can't, because it all streams out. You put it in a bucket, it streams out. How do you fill the sieve with water? So he takes the sieve, he throws it in the sea. He says, it's full of water now. That's what you do with your mind. You see, as soon as we try to get an idea, it's like that's the sieve. You see, then the citta drains away, because you can't contain it in that. But you can let your mind drop into awareness, and this is where the mind ceases. Right? It means it stops thinking, it stops conceiving, it stops forming things to attach to. And then, so then you can't really attach to it, because the attaching mechanism has given up at that moment. Now, if we think about it, of course, we could say, oh, this citta sounds like an eternal soul to me. Oh dear, that's not allowed. Well, maybe there is one. But this is the problem with the trying to conceive it. So we realize. And why do we realize it? Because it makes us feel happier, clearer. We don't need to know what it is. We just know we're not suffering. That's it. That's what you know. That you can notice that. Person feels the emotions deeply and sometimes affected by negatives from others, seen or unseen, such as petas, hungry ghosts. Are there any ways to protect oneself from it? And by getting angry makes me powerful. I feel if I soften myself like using metta, it makes me vulnerable. So how to protect citta? How to protect one's sensitivity? It's a good question. And yeah, certainly, in meditation culture, then a lot of people do chanting. If you petas, these are immaterial spirits, and you may not think there are any. Maybe there are, maybe there aren't. If they're immaterial, you can't see them, so you can't prove it with your senses. But some people do experience a sense of something nagging and hungry and deprived, that's kind of attacking them or wanting something. And certainly the forest ajahns would always chant quite a lot of paritta, particularly in the jungle, where there are spirits, ghosts, and dangerous animals. So they just create this metta field. Yeah. Because chanting has an energy to it. If you chant, you notice the energy in your body, you notice the energy in your heart, right? There's an energy to it, it's steady, and you're chanting, and you infuse the chanting with metta, kindness, goodwill, peacefulness, leave me alone, this kind of thing. And it seems to create an energy field. Now, even animals will respond to this. They'll respond to people who are malevolent and angry. They'll certainly pick that energy up. So us humans, if we're not necessarily that aware of this, because our thinking mind obscures the reality of the energy fields, which is not just the theory. The body has energy and it radiates energy around it. And the heart has energy, and it can be detected as fields that sweep out around the body. That's even detectable. Particular forms of science can detect these things. And even without that, we can notice how people really developed meditators. You just start to feel good in their presence. You feel happy, you feel comfortable, you pick up their energy is steady, balanced and warm. And particularly people who've developed a lot of strength in this, there's a wonderful energy field that radiates around them that you can sense into. And animals certainly sense it and are pleased by it. And creatures that don't think pick it up. So sometimes people with brain dementia, thinking is gone, they can pick up other people's energies. If people are flustered or agitated or hostile or dark, then people who are calm, they pick that up. So this is something certainly to develop. The other, really much the same thing, because I'm saying that heart energy and body energy are very compatible or even sympathetic. So we use that sense of whole body grounded, and you can connect, say, to the earth beneath you, feeling the earth beneath you, and particularly the spinal channel. So from the top of the crown or the base of the skull all the way down, you focus on that and connect it to the earth. It creates a certain inner strong energy channel, and you just keep referring to that. And with the attitude of other beings here, I mean no harm. I am a disciple of the Buddha. May you be well, I mean you no harm, I respect you, please respect me. Just kind of general messages. This is something that the forest teachers would do when they're in the jungle. You meet a bear or a snake or something, and it's okay, brother, sister, may you be well, I mean no harm, this is your territory, I come in peace. And just this, generally the animal goes, Getting angry makes me more powerful. It does have a power to it, but anger is a demon energy. So it's a demon energy. Demons are powerful, but it's not a healthy energy, because it corrodes. It corrodes the heart. Yeah, it's like if we do an example, like take something like drugs, like cocaine or heroin. You may feel powerful, but it's actually damaging your nervous system, damaging your sensitivity, damaging your balance. And anger is rather like that. It's like a powerful chemical that runs through the system, and it has physiological damage, and of course mental damage. So you pay for it. Better to try to strengthen the metta energies rather than the angry energies. Somebody has a cat brushing up against you. So self-care versus attachment. Well, in a way, this is kind of comes in a little bit from what I just said. Self-care is that self-attachment. Well, what self-care means, it's just a word we use to describe caring for the heart and caring for one's well-being. Like a parent looks after a child, saying, careful, don't go there, you're going to get damaged, come back here. So looks after so that the mind doesn't wander into unskillful areas. That's care. And then here's how to get refreshed. Here's how to get clean. Here's how to get fed. So you feed and you nourish the heart by giving it right food. And citta is like an open mouth. So almost anything gets thrown in there from the mind. Throws any old thing in that. Ideas, news, gossip, memories, throws anything in there. And not all of it's good food. Some of it's bad food. So you've got to protect that, so it knows how to close and how to get the right food. Right food is things like the indriya, enlightenment factors, mindfulness, conscious and concern. You feed on that. It nourishes the citta. Please go ahead. And so this is something like this is really an exhortation for our daily life, because this sense of, as I said before, giving appropriate attention, for your welfare, guarding attention. Attention is saturated with sights and sounds and messages, attitudes, dispositions, fashions, trends, propaganda, politics, everything, just flood. And if you're not getting enough now, just switch on the internet, you can go completely crazy. Saturated with everything. Tell you, then you live in this virtual reality. It's just all out there. And it's all available. We live in a time of excess. Excess. Too much. They're still hungry for more because the food isn't good. You're eating junk food. So if you switch it off, I'll starve to death. No, you won't. Starve. That's what your mind thinks. And turn it towards this, and you pick up the appetite. And it's just reflect every day on your virtues, reflect every day on those you care for, reflect every day on those who care for you. Yeah. Reflect on the example of the Buddha, on your capacity to be honest. Reflect on the ability to direct your attention, and also to really be someone who has that prudence and care. See, the citta, don't give attention in that direction, or just minimal, just enough to know that's where I'm not going. And you have to find out. But it's good to consider, Dhamma practice as a feeding program rather than a work project. You see what I mean? They could do it either way. In a way, yeah, it is work, but it's the work of feeding yourself. And because one of the main things that differentiates, our time from the time of the Buddha is nowadays, from, probably the very early age, your life is built around work. You're designed to work. You're designed to get a job, to work hard, to perhaps work harder, get better results, performance. That's a powerful conditioning, very powerful conditioning. You see, that's not the time of the Buddha. That didn't happen. People farming or a bit of trading, but nobody was commuting. There was no 9 to 5 because there was no clocks. So you don't get that pressurized drive that we become accustomed to as, if you want to do good, you use that. If you want good results, you use that business model, business model. Okay, so work all day. Meditation, here we go. Drive into meditation. You think, I can't do it. It's just, it's too stressful. Meditation is much too stressful. This is upside down, right? This is called stress release. Yeah. So, but when you get these ideas like, become a stream enterer, apply constant mindfulness, diligence, awareness, and you put it onto the business model and you get that drive. And mostly what people need to know is how to relax those impulses and enjoy where you are and comfort yourself and calm and experience happiness in the here and now. And then the thing is, if you feed it properly, it will, by itself, it will grow. You can't go to a tomato plant and say, grow faster, grow quicker. I want you now. You just got to feed it. And if you feed it, it will grow. Because that's its nature. And the citta's nature is it's a learning program. If you feed it proper food, it will grow. Like we all grew up. Nobody said, you've got to be 6 foot tall. You just did it. Can we trust that? Yeah. And just recognize it. Too much drive, you don't get the receptivity to really take things in. Wisdom comes from being receptive. You're listening in. Now, of course, there's right effort, but right effort is to put aside what's unskillful. And one of the unskillful things put aside is compulsive working, because it's stressing you out. And the feeling of harrowing guilt, like I'm not doing good enough, I should do better, I'm not very good at this, I don't meditate hard enough. You've got to stop doing that. Because it's unskillful, unhelpful, damaging. This is a time to say, find some time to look after yourself in this appropriate way. And so you feel the sense of, a little bit better. And it's like nursing it, and it will grow. And you have programs like this where there's definitely a group sense in which, we're gathering together, and everybody does what they can, the best they can, and there's a medium effort. The same with Qigong, 70% is enough. Same with meditation, 70% maximum effort. Otherwise you're going to get stressed and strained. Put aside the unwholesome, pick up the wholesome and feed yourself on it. Then you're going to grow. Okay, when I'm talking about all this feeding myself and self-care, I'm dropping a hint.